Today in the shop, we're back over here at Brandy's. We are picking up where we left off on this dragster. We are going to be cutting the entire front end off today and replacing it with that. I was able to get a hold of a couple blueprints from Chris Alston's Chassis Works for some of their dragsters, so I have a couple references on the degree of this axle and where the spindles need to go and all that. I've measured this out. The dragster itself appears to be about 180 inches, so I was a little short on that. But if we're going from axle spindle to where I presume in the back here where the axle bolts on, some sort of center line back there, it's around 180 inches. But yeah, so we have everything picked up. Basically, we realized the chassis is square enough, and this is a little bent, so we're cutting that all off, and we're going to square the steering to the chassis and not worry about anything that was there. And we're just going to replace everything because we ran into that hiccup towards the end of the video where just this thing is tweaked this way. The angles are different from the bar, from the center out. You know, we showed all that. So we're just going to start from scratch. We have a nice brand new piece from the chassis shop, 6-inch drop, 8 degree on the kingpin, and we're going to set it back 23 degrees of caster. So that's what we got off the blueprint. I'll attach a picture. That's for a torsion style, which this is a kind of like a hybrid. It's fixed on, so it doesn't actually spring, and these are kind of more for show. They don't really actually do anything since this is hard mounted, and we use a rack and pinion, so there's so many different setups. It's kind of hard to nail down one specific kind. Like I said, there's the torsion style, and the Chris Alston style is 23 degree caster, but this one is 23.5, but it's a little bent up, so I would probably leave off 24.3, sorry. So it's about a degree and some change off, but like I said, we're gonna start over from scratch. So how this is currently attached is the bottom tubes are welded to the axle in the front, and then the top are to a flat piece that is welded to another flat piece and all that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna tie in the bottom axle tubes to the new axle, or the bottom chassis tubes to the new axle tube. And then we're going to run a bar here and then a small plate in there that these can tie into, and we'll get rid of all that. So we're going to clean this up quite a bit. And then for the tow hook, we're going to build a tube piece. It's going to come to a point. There'll be a center bar in there where they attach to with a through bolt, and then you can thread on an eyelet basically for a tow hook. You can remove it or leave it on, it don't matter. Done it that way a million times. Basically just weld a nut to the end of a tube and it'll thread in, and you got yourself a tow hook. So let's get set up and get this front end cut off. Okay, so I time-lapse getting all this cut off. I did my absolute very best to maintain as much of the original chassis tube work, trimmed everything out, and now we've got a pretty straight surface. We've only lost about 1/4 of an inch total on everything, but that's okay. We'll be able to space that out, and if we have to add something else in there, clamshell it or something like that, we can do that, but we're going to put some fresh metal in there. The next thing we need to do is we're going to fit up our axle to the bottom 2 tubes and kind of cope that in there, and then we'll tie in the top to the bar like I said previously. All right, so now we have, I've kind of fit up this bottom tube here. I've got it pretty well straight and square, so it'll be even when we get across there. It took me about 30 minutes or so to get this all cleaned up. I've got to come back and take out all the paint and everything on the bottom side. It's just hard to get to, but as far as this fit up is, this thing looking pretty good. There's a little bit of gap. I don't know, maybe you can see it in the video. There's just a hair bit of gap right there, which I'll be able to bring in. I think I just need to trim out just a little bit on the bottom still. That's what we're working with. I think that's going to be really close to where we need to be as far as getting that fit up on there. Yeah, so that's good headway. So what we're going to do is we'll get this last little bit trimmed to fit, and then I'll get you off this tripod here and we'll get a little closer look. Okay, after a little bit more time and a little bit of care, we've got a much better fit on our front tubes. You can kind of see, I still have to get back down in there and sand all this stuff off to completely doesn't really want to sit still, but that's our fit. Not too bad. It's straight, so I don't want to keep taking a little bit, and end up with a big gap again. So we got a pretty good fit there, so we're going to keep rolling with that. So the next thing we need to do is we need to find our exact center. This is just kind of sitting here. Find our exact center. This is marked, but of the chassis itself, we'll probably run some sort of straight edge off the steering column if that seems like it's going to be square. We just need to find center somehow. And then all we've got to do is, like I said, we've got a 23 degrees of caster. This is what the kingpin's going to be angled out. And then we got to just tack it in place, and then we can proceed on the gusseting. So we're going to run a tube across from edge to edge, plate that, weld that to the plate, weld the plate to the tube on the inside. It'll be a nice thing. It's look a little nicer than this piece that we have cut off. That originally was on the other one. So this is like some flat bar, not chromoly. It's like 2 inches by 3/8 flat bar. Pretty thick stuff. Okay, we have everything cleaned up, notched, fitted, marked out, laid out where it needs to be. 23 degrees of caster. I'm about ready to get the old welder hooked up and fired up and get this thing tacked into place. And we'll go from there. I kind of fast forward a little bit. I got most all this tacked up and put into place, and I just got to weld like the last like 1/3 or so of it. And once I get it all welded up, we'll look at it all as is. We still got more to add. I'm just getting this all tied in where you're not going to be able to access once you get the part on top here and the plate that goes across there. You're not going to be able to weld like the insides here, and I welded the axle to the inside of the top tube, so you'll see all that when I'm done. Okay, we're back again. We got a new fresh tungsten, 332nd, 2% red, thoriated, Jazzy 10 Ferret Cup. Put a fresh screen on there. This is a CK Torch, the flex head, or whatever that is. Not flex head, the swivel head. So that's what we're using. I have an AHP 201 XD. Got the thing like 5 years ago. It's been well worth the $700 I paid for it. So let's get into finishing this up. Welder, they said it will be fun. They said. Okay, we've got everything welded up here. Let's see, not exactly my finest work. I mean, not terrible. It's kind of dirty inside there. I ground the best I could, but there's still some paint, you know, that's going to be up underneath there that I just could not get to, that kind of showed through. But I did my best that I could, and I ground out everything. So we just got a little bit of there from the back side. We were able to weld all the way up and around on both tubes, so we're good. Zoom out here. So, looking pretty good. Much better. All right, we're all cleaned up. That pretty much wraps up for what we're doing here for now on this episode, if you will. One thing too, upon further inspection, we found another crack in the chassis. I'm going to try to show you. Yeah, there you go. Right there. Right there. So we're deliberating on how we're going to go about repairing this. We might just redo this whole back hoop. Man, it's a lot of work though to get all that stuff cut out. Yeah, so I guess you'll just have to wait and see to what we figure out and go from there.